it's not really logical. When you try to get the point across to someone, with a strong will, that's smart, that's capable, as that little boy that she explained that I was, how do you explain to someone that a substance that you can hold in your hand can literally take everything from you? It can knock down your will, your power. It can shape your life. It can it literally puts your life into a little box. It takes away dreams, takes away goals, and it just leaks into every single aspect of your life. She kind of spoke about how I was when I was a kid. So I'll just kind of jump right into my story. It's a lot to it, so I'm gonna probably jump around a little bit. So the first phase of using was really experimental. It was, just very, not naive, just uneducated into what I was stepping into. Alcohol, I started with alcohol at about 12. Alcohol, I feel like I connected alcohol to a fun environment. Growing up, we had alcohol at weddings. They were always at banquets. They were, my mom actually played in a band. So some of my first experiences sipping, they'd go downstairs to finish their rehearsal, and I would be upstairs, and I'd want to be like, the grown-ups and stuff, and I'd start, drinking the half empties or the couple sips left in the wine glass. Shortly after that, I had a lot of freedom when I was a kid because my parents, they wanted to give me freedom, not knowing that I would ever fall to something like that. We grew up in a nice suburb. We had a nice home. I had a lot of friends, a lot of freedom. But that freedom, I just kind of, I fell into this group of kids, and we stumbled upon marijuana and drinking. The first time I ever tried marijuana, I loved it. I loved the way it made me feel. We used it just socially, just to have fun, and it just kind of opened up that door. It really is, people argue whether or not it's a gateway or not. Well, for me it was. So I got used to substances being around. We could drink when we wanted to, smoke weed, it was available. But it really started accelerating quickly when I got into high school. I think back in my first year in high school, I had a lot of elective classes, so there was a lot of mixed ages, and I ended up meeting some of my friends. Some of my first friends in high school were 2 or 3 years older than me, and I idolized and fell into the wrong group of people. I started going to parties. I started just experimenting with more and more, and I looked up to these people. I mean, and a lot of them, that were my age too. We all came into it together, just gradually. And I'm from Anoka, Minnesota. During that time, the first hard drug, or so I thought it was hard drug, that I tried that really just opened the doors for everything's game, was ecstasy, and it was huge. Ecstasy seemed to be everywhere when I was in high school, or at least for the first couple years. So I tried ecstasy 9th grade, and in my mind, I'm not educated in drugs. I thought ecstasy was up there with with everything else. So I'm like, well, if I did that, and that didn't really ruin my life, why not? What's this little pill, Oxys, Xanax? And when Dr. I forget your name, but when he shed light on the fact that the pharmaceutical companies and he took responsibility in that medical field, that was really bold to do. But what had opened us up, me and literally hundreds of people in my high school, was there was some of my friends during the time, they were paying pharmacists at a pharmacy in Minneapolis. And literally thousands and thousands and thousands of Oxys and Xanax and morphines were coming into our town. which brought many things. It brought desensitization to what these drugs are, because now it's everywhere. Everywhere you look, everyone's doing them. They're doing them at parties, and the popular people, it wasn't like the drug addicts or the druggies were not, they were like just, they were the popular crowd when I went to school. So finding acceptance in these groups, the excitement, the energy level at these parties, and just seeing it everywhere. So I tried Oxycontin for the first time, not understanding. It was not logical. I had no idea what road that would bring me down after I tried this pill. I tried it and I immediately, I really did. I really fell in love with it. And that took me down a road that I didn't know. I didn't have anyone telling me what could happen on a real level. Not just, oh, it's bad for your liver and this, you know, they show you the little chart in school and DARE. No, I mean the real effects. How it affects your family, how it affects your dreams, how it affects your career, how you lose children, how you lose friends. So throughout high school, I'm idolizing these really, I mean, they're young, but drug dealers on a decent sized scale. And I'm looking at the excitement and I'm like, okay, well, you know, this is great. I'm going to go this route. And before you know it, I start seeing glimpses of this dependency, and I try and step out, trying to step out. And I realize now, you know, during that, I couldn't. There wasn't enough huge consequences yet where I gave it real, you know, faithful tries. But it was coming to mind, like, wow, I think this thing is starting to have a little bit more power over me than I thought, than I expected. So all through high school, you know, it just, you know, crashing cars, some of the first consequences, losing licenses, getting to a little bit of trouble with the law, not too much, I don't think, but I did get expelled from my school. I was a great skier. I skied varsity slalom, and I got caught using drugs on the team, and I quit the team. It just took all of the things that I love to do, hunting, fishing. I started, you know, I never came home for curfews, you know. I stopped hanging around my brother. I stopped going hunting with my dad. I stopped doing all the things that I really, truly loved and cared about. And it got so bad that I had younger siblings at home at this time, where my parents they just couldn't see me going down that way anymore. And so they let me go. They kicked me out. I think I was 18, 19, and I'm doing heroin at this time. And I will say this, the first time I did heroin, I didn't know it was heroin. You know, they have other names for it, China, you know, white China. It's just looks a little line of powder. And the guy says, well, it's just like Oxy, because I'm addicted to Oxy. I had about a 400 milligram a day habit of Oxy at that time. And he goes, well, it's just like heroin, man, but it's it's just like Oxy's, but it's twice as cheap. Well, so here's a compromise, one that really took me down. And so I started doing heroin. And it wasn't long before I made that other compromise of using needles. So fast forward a little bit. During this time, I was dating a girl, Molly. She is my oldest daughter's mom. She went through multiple failed treatments. I did, around that time, I did make some really, what I thought to be valiant efforts at quitting. I just didn't really quite understand what it would take to quit. And she stuck around for, I don't know, 4.5, 5 years. Failed attempt after failed attempt, more jail stays, more detoxes. And then it took, I actually got put on I got civilly committed, which was an act of just straight desperation from my mom. I had, I think, 6 hospitalizations in maybe 3 weeks from heroin overdoses. And So I went through this commitment, and I don't know, I couldn't break free. I couldn't give it up. So I'll move forward a little bit now. I lost Molly. I'm still out. I'm staying wherever's open. And my life, it had completely leaked into every area of my life. I can't work a job. I'll do anything that I need to do to keep myself high. So selling drugs, usually if I wasn't successful selling drugs, I'd be conning, stealing, frauding, anything's game. Because you're not yourself, you're not living according to your values. In fact, you have to replace your value system in order to operate in such a life like that. So that's where my life really changed. I couldn't live with the fact that that I'm a proud father, that I have a daughter, that I'm a son, that I love fishing, hunting, doing anything. No, I had to push all those values out and adopt new ones to be okay with the way that I was living. So, friendships, everything in your life is connected to using now. I'm out there every day. Every day is a life or death chance for me. And still using heroin, I fell pretty deep. Things kind of shifted to meth, to IV meth use, which opened the door to an enormous amount of crime and pain and everything. And you know, I was stuck in this life with some of my friends. I mean, some of these people that I was living this with, we grew up together. I remember riding around the neighborhood on bikes, just playing night games, playing Ghost in the Graveyard, doing innocent kid things. And now we're in a car, you know, with God knows what in the trunk, taking life or death chances. And I just lost myself completely. I lost everything. I came to a point in my life where there was no hope. There was none. I was considering, in the final months of my use, I was really considering suicide. You know, I'd just be driving, probably a stolen car, I don't know. I would just be driving alone, isolated, and I would just envision just letting my hand go off the wheel. Because half of my friends are dead. I'm not being a father. I'm not being a son. The only type of love that I know of is that empathetic type of love that you get in addiction. It's an empathetic love that you create and just a falsified sense of honor while you're using next to the people that you grew up with. And it's like you just have that sense of empathy because you just know the struggle. And you just cling to that. Every other part of your life is so far away after years of addiction that that's all you know. That's all you cling to. That's the last familiar feeling of love or empathy or whatever it may be that you have in your life. So I clung to those friends. I wasn't willing to give it up until I finally came to this point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it one last chance. One last chance. I need to be a father. I need to be a son. I think it was Dr. Sorry. he mentioned having a 2-page document with names, and it's funny because it's never good when you have a page. But in closing, I'm going to read a list of names. And I want you to envision with every name at least 5 people that are directly related to this person. And these are all just the people that I was really close with, friends with, not just acquaintances or people that I've heard of that have passed. These have all died from opiates or direct drug overdoses in the last 3 years. Matt, Tiffany, Chris, Brian, Roxy, Kevin, Tabitha Fredelman, Jeff Hayes, Samuel Reuter, Mikey Crone, Ryan Anderson, and Jesse Lee Metzger. Something needs to be done. I think Sherry has a great plan. I think you guys have really done good exposing some of the real issues behind the pharmaceutical and the community problems with the opiate epidemic here. But I think a consistent form of education that's real and raw and powerful that happens every year. And because it's so much harder to pull them out once they've already crossed that line. Once they've already gotten addicted, it's so much harder. You've got to get it in front of it. You've got to get it. I don't remember much of DARE. I remember the t-shirt. We need something real. We need to deal with it on all levels, on every front. So that's a little bit of my story. Thank you. Thanks for listening.